Greetings. My name is Jake Harrington. I'm the Intelligence Fellow in the International Security Program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, D.C. I'm excited to share with you today a briefing on my paper submitted in support of the conference entitled Defense Innovation in the Digital Age, the Role of Artificial Intelligence in Competition and Conflict. The purpose of today's briefing is threefold. First, I'll discuss the key global trends that are driving military efforts to integrate artificial intelligence and machine learning, or AI/ML, capabilities into strategy and doctrine. Second, I'll discuss several specific areas where national defense organizations can leverage AI/ML, specifically focusing on the areas of intelligence and warning, combat operations, business operations, and logistics and maintenance. Third, I'll discuss the key considerations that defense leaders should take into account when designing strategies to promote innovation in the area of data analytics. This will cover the pillars of people, data, technology, and acquisition. It's important to begin any discussion of the military applications of AI/ML by covering the key global trends that are motivating the intense national security interest in these capabilities. The core pillar of these efforts is an emerging concept that the U.S. military, as well as the Australian and the British armies, refer to as information advantage. The pursuit of information advantage focuses on an increasing recognition that battlefield decision-making needs to harness the promises of emerging technology to facilitate real-time integrated situational awareness across all domains, across all joint forces, and with allies. In the United States, the broader effort to build toward this concept of information advantage is reflecting in the emerging Joint All-Domain Command and Control, or JADC2 concept. JADC2 envisions a future where all battlefield sensors, space, air, ground, sea, and cyber, inform a common operating picture and are directly connected to commanders and warfighters. China's People's Liberation Army, PLA, is pursuing a similar information-focused modernization, which Beijing refers to as an effort to manage system of systems operations. Efforts to develop big data analytic capabilities to enable joint multi-domain operations is a cornerstone of the PLA's broader ambitions to become a world-class military by 2049. The American and Chinese military examples reflect broader recognition that emerging technology is increasingly offering opportunities that were previously impossible. Smaller, cheaper, and more capable sensors are increasingly available. The substantial storage and computing processing demands of AI/ML capabilities are getting smaller and cheaper as well, enabling new opportunities to field them in expeditionary environments and to conduct embedded data analysis onboard weapon systems and collection platforms. But AI/ML efforts are being driven by more than opportunity. In the current data and threat environment, they are a necessity, and for two reasons. The first reason is that global data generation continues to grow exponentially. It has grown more than 30-fold in the last 10 years and will likely double again by 2025. At the same time, defense budget and personnel numbers continue to decline. In that same 10-year period that data generation has grown 30 times, U.S. and Korean active military personnel numbers have declined by 7% and 15% respectively. Simply put, the data challenges are too massive for humans to manage alone. Second, the reemergence of multipolar strategic competition has coincided with numerous states finding new ways to conduct hostilities below the threshold of conventional warfare. These techniques across the political, information, economic, and cyber domains are often characterized as existing in a gray zone between peace and war. Fundamentally, states are seeking to achieve asymmetric strategic advantage using techniques that can be difficult to detect, understand, deter, and counter. The use of these gray zone techniques in support of national defense is clearly reflected in both Chinese and Russian military doctrine. In Russia, the concept has been referred to as new generation warfare, and the chief of Russian General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, has touted the strategic value of non-military approaches, suggesting they often exceed the power of military weapons in their effectiveness. China's doctrine follows a similar line of thinking, focusing on a concept known as the three warfares approach. The three warfares being public opinion warfare, psychological warfare, and legal warfare. In practice, these types of irregular warfare or gray zone strategies rely on emerging technology to conduct or obscure operations and shape operating environments. This includes conducting disinformation campaigns, economic sabotage, or computer network operations. The primary challenge in this gray zone environment is what British Chief of Defense Staff General Sir Nick Carter recently characterized as hiding and finding. The ways that aggressors are using technology to hide their activities present significant data and detection challenges to those trying to find, expose, and disrupt these activities. It's important to recognize that gray zone activities occur along a spectrum of intensity. At the lowest end, states may engage in efforts to covertly influence public opinion or sow discord, as seen with Russian efforts to interfere in recent US elections. But they do escalate and extend beyond activities in the information and cyber environments. This includes the use of various proxies, including terrorist groups, criminal actors, and even fishermen in the case of China to advance a country's broader strategic interests. National security efforts to counter hostile behavior need to focus on detecting these activities in an exceptionally noisy information environment. Further challenging these efforts is the fact that oftentimes aggressors are only seeking to maintain plausible deniability to distance themselves from these proxies or other gray zone activities, often using the information environment to seed doubt about their responsibility for certain actions. The challenge for finders becomes even more difficult. From a data perspective, efforts to detect and attribute in the gray zone mean that despite already large and exponentially growing data volume challenges that are facing all organizations, finding hostile behavior in the gray zone requires militaries to seek out more and increasingly diverse types of data, including from open sources like commercial remote sensing data and social media information. Ultimately, the challenge of technology-fueled security competition should motivate national defense organizations to build toward an outcome when all of their data, commercial, military, intelligence, and other, can be integrated and overlaid with AI/ML to detect indicators of emerging hostile activity across all domains. In evaluating the specific areas where AI and ML can be integrated into a national defense organization, it's useful to start with an understanding of a May 2021 memo that U.S. Deputy Secretary of Defense Hicks issued called Creating Data Advantage. This memo articulated the U.S. Department of Defense's vision for transforming itself into a data-centric organization. The document, which itself built upon the Pentagon's 2019 Enterprise Data Strategy, reinforced how integral to all of the department's activities AI and ML will be. This idea that information advantage can be integrated in the entire organization. Well, we discussed in the last section the primary drivers that are motivating organizations to adopt AI ML. In this section, we'll cover some of the specific areas where these capabilities can be integrated. We'll focus on four primary areas where AI ML can augment defense activities: intelligence and warning, business operations, combat operations, and logistics and maintenance. Fundamentally, AI and ML capabilities are intended to decipher meaning amidst vast amounts of data. For this reason, the capabilities have vast applications in the area of intelligence and warning. It's useful to understand the relative uses for two of the primary types of AI ML tools: computer vision and natural language processing. Computer vision models are perhaps the most well-known and most mature forms of AI. Computer vision refers to the ability of AI-enabled systems to derive meaningful information from images, including satellite imagery, full-motion video, or photographs. There are vast applications for computer vision within the national defense field. This includes the capability to review millions or even billions of images and alert users to potential changes in an environment that's being monitored. These are the same capabilities that conduct other missions, such as facial recognition, biometric analysis, While computer vision refers to tools that can extract meaningful information from images, the field of natural language processing, or NLP, refers to AI/ML tools that can derive patterns, detect anomalies, or synthesize insights from the human language in text or audio form. NLP tools have significant value in helping organizations manage the vast amounts of language data in the information environment, including across social media, broadcast media, and other potential sources of threat information. Ultimately, the long-term vision for many organizations is to merge insights across all data, often referred to as multimodal sense-making. This refers to an end state where pattern analysis can be detected and synthesized across disparate sources, such as connecting events detected by a satellite image to other information gleaned from social media. Ultimately, the utility of AI/ML and information and warning is the ability of these tools to alert commanders and decision makers to anomalies in an environment that is being monitored. AI/ML using algorithms can be trained to monitor for particular predefined indicators, tipping and cueing analysts and operators in real time of emerging threats. Also discussed in the first section today, the US JADC2 and the Chinese system of systems approaches to warfare envision substantial reliance on AI/ML capabilities in combat. The JADC2 model is often characterized as an effort to connect sensors to shooters, which others have compared to the ride-sharing service Uber. Just as Uber matches drivers to nearby passengers, JADC2 would match sensors across all domains and services to the best positioned weapon platform across all domains and services, relying on AI and ML to broker this access. AI/ML has also been proposed as a way to facilitate autonomous battlefield intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. For example, in 2019, researchers at RAND Corporation proposed a concept where 500 small, affordable, and disposable unmanned aerial vehicles could create a resilient targeting mesh within contested airspace. The concept would use AI/ML to sustain the targeting mesh as individual UAVs in the fleet were lost. As the previously mentioned DoD memo and DoD data strategy emphasized, though, there are tremendous utilities for AI/ML and national defense outside of conflict and intelligence and warning. One main area is in business operations, including human resources, finance and accounting, and other administrative functions. Defense organizations share many similarities with private companies in these areas, and both governments and private corporations have similar incentives to pursue automation, that is, to reduce costs. In the United States, both the National Security Commission on AI, the NSC-AI, and the Department of Defense have endorsed integrating more data analysis and AI/ML into business operations. For example, the NSC-AI recommended fielding robotic process automation software, RPA software, for defense organizations. RPA tools are designed to automate labor-intensive human interactions with computers and software, achieving significant efficiencies. Reflecting the importance of changing business operations in the U.S. DoD's approach to AI/ML, two of the three priority areas for integration of these tools are business functions: senior leadership, decision support, and business analytics. This reflects a recognition that effective quantitative metrics overlay with AI/ML and data visualization tools can significantly enhance the quality of decision-making on budget, personnel, and strategy matters. Finally, there is a significant amount of promise for AI/ML tools in the area of logistics and maintenance, another field where defense organizations have significant overlap with the private sector. A particular note is the US DoD's Joint Artificial Intelligence Center, or the JAKE, its prioritization of a project it refers to as Joint Logistics. Joint Logistics is focused on integrating AI/ML tools to reduce maintenance and logistics costs, which account for over a quarter of the DoD's budget, while increasing safety and reliability. DoD had its first implementation of this program in late 2020, when a natural language processing tool was integrated into a fleet of H-60 special operations helicopters to predict when those aircraft will require predictive and routine maintenance. Further applications will extend to the areas of supply chain and logistics. This includes developing and fielding tools to manage inventory, stockpiling, and supply chains. Both the U.S. Defense Logistics Agency and the U.S. Transportation Command have expressed interest in these types of tools. Also, given ongoing global supply chain disruptions, there is significant interest in how AI/ML may assist in predicting bottlenecks and future product shortages. As these capabilities evolve, I anticipate they will have significant applications for national defense. So far, we've discussed why defense organizations are pursuing AI/ML tools and where these capabilities can be integrated into the defense enterprise. In this final section, we'll discuss the main considerations that leaders should consider as they design strategies to promote digital modernization and innovation. These strategies should revolve around 4 pillars: people, data, technology, and acquisition. It's important to understand that people are your organization's greatest AI/ML asset. The importance of people means that all decisions around digital transformation and innovation need to focus on how they will support, empower, and benefit the people who build your organization's technology and the people who use those technologies. From a recruiting perspective, defense leaders need to recognize that technical talent capable of building innovative AI applications is in high demand globally. This means that government agencies and private companies are often in competition for the same talent. The challenge for governments is to identify and maximize the unique opportunities that come with government service, including appealing to an applicant's patriotism and offering the opportunity to apply one's skills in support of national defense, particularly if national defense organizations cannot match the salaries of the private sector. Another approach in the United States has been to promote science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM programs in secondary and higher education, with the intent of broadening the pool of technology talent and offering scholarships and fellowships that are tied to commitments to government service. Also in the U.S., some, including the NSCAI, have advocated for alternative workforce models, including a digital reserve corps that would allow individuals with technical talent to serve in the government part-time while maintaining their employment in the private sector. In addition to attracting the right talent, leaders are responsible for promoting a culture that prioritizes and rewards innovation. This means celebrating and rewarding work that advances the organization's broader digital modernization agenda, while also accepting risk. Not all innovation will be successful, and failure in some cases is inevitable, but it's important for organizations to adopt the mantra fail fast, to try new things, accept failure when it occurs, and move on. This is a best practice in the software industry, and it should be a best practice for national defense organizations and governments as well. It's often said also that data has supplanted oil as the world's most valuable resource. Regardless of its actual economic value, it's important to recognize your organization's data for what it is, and that is a strategic asset. The best AI/ML algorithms in the world are useless without data. And just as oil literally fueled the engine of the global economy for a century, it's data that fuels AI/ML. Many organizations, particularly government agencies, unfortunately have neglected data management for decades, leading to a situation where critical access to the data fuel necessary to run AI/ML is often constrained. Data discovery and interoperability, therefore, needs to be a leadership priority to overcome these challenges and to ensure the effective flow of data to fuel your organization's AI/ML tools. This means leaders often need to engage and enforce data standards and establish the expectation that data needs to be treated as an enterprise resource, not something that belongs to the component that collected or generated the data. This has been a significant focus of emphasis for the U.S. Department of Defense in recent months. This cultural change to data needs to be backed by good policy, strong leadership, and strict enforcement. It is really not a hyperbole to say that the U.S. JADC2 and the Chinese system of systems data visions are impossible without streamlined organization-wide access to all data. This is the reason for the data decrees that Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks issued in May 2021. The third pillar is technology, and we're discussing technology third for a reason, and that's because the technology, without the right people to build it and the data to fuel it, is useless. Consistent with this, leaders should approach all technology discussions and decisions focused on how any decision in the technology area will reinforce the goals in the people and data pillars. This means focusing on technologies that will better connect people together to collaborate on development and innovation, or fielding technical solutions that can overlay your data and make those pillars of data discovery and data interoperability and compliance with data standards easier, using common standards and open architecture best practices. Leaders also have a significant role to play in building the underlying infrastructure that drives AI/ML, specifically access to the vast amounts of storage and computing power that these tools require, which is very expensive. Increasingly, national security organizations are turning to commercial cloud providers like Amazon, Microsoft, Oracle, and others to provide these services. Commercial cloud services offer infrastructure that is almost infinitely scalable and available on a pay-as-you-go basis, compared to the significant capital investments that traditional government-owned data centers entail. Regardless of your strategic approach to infrastructure, whether it includes commercial cloud or you will build all of your data on premises data centers, these decisions require strong leadership commitments to understand and implement and build a comprehensive strategy that brings to bear all these capabilities that underpin your digital transformation. As the US DoD's own struggles to select a suitable enterprise cloud provider reflect, these decisions are highly complex and carry a significant amount of risk. They require strong leadership to oversee the strategy development and implementation process. Finally, it's essential to ensure that your organization's acquisition policies do not inhibit innovation. In the United States, a significant amount of attention has been directed toward purchasing and procurement processes that were designed for Cold War battle systems. This includes processes that can extend for years or decades, with the ultimate delivery of a very expensive platform that is designed to specific standards, such as a submarine or a fighter jet. As a recent study by the Defense Innovation Board highlighted, however, software is fundamentally different than hardware. Buying AI/ML tools is not like buying a fighter jet or a tank, because, as that report stated, software is never done. Software, particularly in the area of AI/ML, is a continuous process of improvement, and acquisition policies that don't reinforce this reality can unintentionally hinder digital innovation. I wanted to close by citing Vladimir Putin, who is often quoted as having said, "The nation that leads the world in artificial intelligence will be the ruler of the world." While that may be a bit of an overstatement, leaders in Beijing, Moscow, and Washington and elsewhere have correctly recognized that strategic advantage is inextricably tied to AI/ML. I hope this discussion, this paper, can assist your efforts to understand and assess these critical issues. Thank you.